There's a mall cop. Okay, I'm gonna think for a second. Tonight we're talking about Back to the Future!
Because it's Back to the Future Day!
So let's talk about why we love it.
Why the characters are so good is they go from being really negative people who aren't successful and aren't happy with themselves to really positive people who are self-confident and happy with the choices that they've made about their lives. That's good. One of the themes of the movie is self-confidence, and we can see that in the way the characters change throughout the movie. In the beginning, Marty doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't get to play before the school dance with his band, and so he tells Jennifer that he just doesn't think that he's good enough, and he even tells Jennifer that he reminds himself of his father. George has the same problem. George doesn't really believe in himself, and he's not really a cool character. He doesn't have that cool self-confidence. Even Biff bosses him around. He doesn't really have a backbone, and so Biff just walks all over him. Lorraine is an alcoholic. She's not happy in her marriage with George. She's not really happy about the choices that she's made in the past, but she doesn't see any way to change them in the future either, so her character is just stuck where she's at. And the brother, David, he works at a fast food restaurant, which is fine, but he's not really applying himself. He doesn't believe in himself to do better, and so he's just stuck there as well. The sister doesn't think she can meet any guys, and she's getting comfort from her mom, but she just doesn't see how it can happen for her. And Biff is the character with too much self-confidence. He walks all over everybody. He doesn't have any humility about himself. He's the character that is the opposite of our heroes. While they're all sitting around this table and we see how the characters are not very self-confident, Lorraine tells the daughter the story about how she met George. And the daughter says, oh, it was so dumb. Grandpa just hit him with the car, and that's how they met each other. Lorraine says, what was it, George, bird watching? Because they don't understand why he was up in the tree. And when we go back to 1955 with Marty, we see that George wasn't bird watching at all. He was a peeping Tom. So his character goes from not very good to worse all of a sudden. That's where the real work on George's character begins. And Lorraine is not how she said she was either. Marty thought she was born a nun, and Lorraine said to Marty that she never parked in a car with a boy or did anything with a boy. And we go back to 1955 and see that she was completely insane and boy crazy. And she's hunting down all these boys and, taking off their pants when they're laying in her bed. So she goes from a character that isn't doing her best to all of a sudden she's so much worse than Marty could have imagined. Now that we know how bad the characters are, really, they can start changing and growing and becoming the people that they're going to be in the later part of the movie. Marty helps Lorraine to not be quite so boy crazy, or at least to not be boy crazy about the wrong person. He also helps her to stop drinking, which changes the course of the rest of her life. Marty also helps George to knock out Biff in the school parking lot, which gives him a complete change in self-confidence, and other people start to see him as a stronger person. Somebody suggests that George runs for class president, and George starts to believe in himself, and he even kisses Lorraine on the dance floor. It also humbles Biff. Biff was too confident, and this knocks him down so that he's not going to terrorize the McFlys for the rest of their lives. This, of course, makes everything better. At the end of the movie, we go back to 1985 after all the character growth is complete, and we see the results of all of Marty's action. Just as we'd hoped, Lorraine has completely given up drinking. She's a very healthy person, and she's happily married to George, which is completely different from how she was in the beginning. George is a successful author. He's not a loser. He believes in himself. He's a creative person. He's a better husband and a better father, which is what Marty wanted, but he didn't even necessarily know that he wanted it. Brother works at an office instead of a fast food restaurant, and the sister has so many guys that she can't even keep track of them. And at the very end, Marty is told by his father that he can do anything if he sets his mind to it, which is what Jennifer told him at the beginning of the movie, but he wasn't ready to hear it then. And now that he's seen his parents change and follow this advice themselves, he's ready to hear it, and he becomes a more self-confident person. And the character overseeing all of this character growth, it's Doc Brown, who originally says, you can do anything if you set your mind to it. And that's why we love these characters, is because they are so human, but they become the best versions of themselves by the end, and they inspire us to be self-confident too. So we change with them as we see the movie. And that's what makes any story great, is changing along with the main character. So be self-confident and change the future. Whoa, Doc, are you telling me about the time machine out of a DeLorean? Not my best Marty impression.
Pretty good.